This is Success in Excess, where elite founders, lawyers, and clinic owners engineer success through strategy, scale, and systems. Powered by GrowthX.
Guys, welcome Pooja Vasudev to the show. She's an excellent attorney. She's been working hard since the beginning of her career, has built a great firm and a great name for herself. Pooja, welcome to the show. We look forward to learning a lot from you. Thank you for coming by.
Thank you for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So let's get down to the chase. You started in early childhood development. You got your BS. What really compelled you to go to law school, to become an attorney, and now your own firm owner? That's a big jump. Tell us, the inspiration and what really got you to go down that path.
That's a great question, Tarun. I really enjoyed learning about children, working with them, and that was where I first started getting into children, advocacy for children, essentially. And so basically, it was easy for me to kind of take that interest in child advocacy that I had and then have it transition to the legal sector. I really enjoyed working with kids, standing up for their rights, learning more about the laws and how they impact children in that arena. And that, along with my interest in reading and writing and giving speeches, it made a good combination in that sense.
So you chose UT Austin, then you went to SMU Dedman for law school. How can you say your background, early childhood development, you like to help people, you like to read, you're very knowledgeable, and you're a scholar, you are pursuing, the art of wisdom. How did that background shape the way you approach your clients in your cases today?
That's a great question as well. I think my background in reading and writing really just taught me to think deeply about what's important to the community, how I can best serve others and give back. And I really thought deeply about how I could provide competent services and also provide good client communication. And that's really been my goal throughout my career. Is essentially that.
So, you've actually had quite an amazing career. You were barred in 2017. Shortly there, a couple of years later, you started your own firm. You were working with larger law firms, corporations, some including Fortune 500 clients, even before you founded PV Law. What key lessons did you bring from the corporate background into your current firm?
Sure. I think the corporate sector taught me the importance of being efficient, providing good customer service, and really doing my best to achieve an organizational goal and to do what's best for clients and others in the company. And while I was in the corporate arena as well, I had the opportunity to work on a variety of different matters. And I feel that I was able to take some of that generalist background and some of that experience I had in the business sector with business counseling and contracts. And I was able to apply that to my practice currently with my law firm now.
So, and with that, I want to kind of go into the understanding. So you started your own firm, you started your own practice, you were working with larger clients. And what I've noticed, I've been in the industry for 15 years. I've worked with, big law firms to guys that are starting their own practice, solo attorneys that are really trying to build something great. And what I've noticed across the board, the attorneys that came either from a general counsel, of counsel, working with larger corporations or in big law, that corporate structure is just extremely beneficial when you get to the business side of running a law firm. Both can be very good attorneys, but having that experience, the corporate governance, the structuring, the processes, the systems, and understanding, even things as simple as P&L reports and really where your business's trajectory is going plays such a big role in the future of your firm, whether it's going to be, extremely successful, competitive, and a standout in your market, or just, one of many firms that are doing well and that provide excellent work, but really hasn't been able to capitalize, the gravity and momentum of really growing that firm. So, you've scaled it extremely well. At what moment did you decide that it was time to launch your own client first law firm? Like, what was the vision that you had to really go for that, understanding that, you were already working at a great firm? You had very, very influential large clients. You were doing amazing work. What really got you to make that jump so early on in your career?
Sure. So I was able to work as an employee for about 7 years before I started my own firm. I really just wanted to pivot and transition my career to focusing on what matters most to me and to also help my clients with what matters most, which is family and career. So I wanted to open the firm in order to offer tailored legal services in both business and family law to help clients and prospective clients protect the foundations of a successful life. So, to me, it was really about being able to provide a needed service and to also give back to others in the community while building a livelihood for myself as well.
So, I think that whole community standpoint is absolutely paramount to a success of a firm, especially being, a small firm coming out there, and especially the type of work that you do. You're handling business law, civil litigation, wills, trusts, and even family law. These are very intimate, knowledgeable, but very close to the chest type of practices. If you're dealing in estate law, you're dealing with people's legacies, what they basically accumulated in a lifetime of blood, sweat, and tears and hard work. Family law, obviously, everybody knows. The tensions are one of the highest in any practice area. You got families that may be at the point of disaster and being broken up. And then as we go into civil litigation and business law, that itself, these are for some when people, it's an extension of themselves. Their business is who they are. That's their identity. And giving you and even trusting you to have the ability to, direct where their identity is going to be for the future is a major honor and a major responsibility. So, that community standpoint is absolutely paramount, like I said, to making sure that you have a successful firm. Of the different fields that you practice, where would you say, you are happiest practicing, or where would you like to see more clients in that field because it's more of your passion?
Absolutely. I feel that I've been able to give back in a larger sense in the business law arena. I've really enjoyed working with new businesses, small businesses. I've enjoyed having the opportunity to help them get set up and help them with any problems and challenges that come their way. I've really enjoyed seeing that process through from the beginning throughout the different
Mhm.
stages of progression. So I've really enjoyed that. And I feel that I've been able to draw on my previous experience in the business law realm as well. Now, in a complementary sense, I've also enjoyed working with family law clients because there are many opportunities that business and family law intersect, particularly in
Oh,
different
yes.
areas, which include divorce and child custody issues, but also things like when someone gets married, they need to
Mhm.
put a prenuptial agreement in place, or even after that big life event, having a postnuptial agreement in place. And so I've really enjoyed just seeing how those two areas interact and then being available for clients and potential new clients when they need me. And then also during these different life stages as well, because I've noticed that seems to trigger some of the times that people seek out legal services.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And bringing that blend and transition from family law into business law, you know, people don't realize it, but having someone like you in their corner is so absolutely effective because you own a business, you've been, let's say, moderately successful, you're going through a divorce. Instead of having to hire a whole nother attorney to review everything, to understand everything and understand where your exposure is, what's fair, what's not fair, but you have somebody that is in your corner and they know from the business side, from the analytics side, some of your most in-depth facts and information that's really going to help you along the way to preserve your assets, more importantly, to make sure that the divorce is fair and people aren't going back and forth at the end. So definitely in that point, business law is quite interesting to me. So business and estate law. I'll say recently, we've been bringing in a lot of clients for our estate law and business law clients, and we've noticed that you know, some of the trajectory shift has changed. We've been doing this 15 years. So a lot of time, let's say in estate planning, we would be looking for high income earners, high net worth earners, age 55 to 65, sometimes predominantly male. And now as we see this shift, even in business law, we're not looking anymore for just that category. It's bumped up so much so that I remember, even last year, almost 40% of the leads that we came in that turned into actual clients for our estate planning firm was women. And it was women from the age of 40 to 60, which was unheard of at the time. Usually it'd be maybe a 5%, 3%, but 40%. And as we see these, transitions and shifts, how has that affected your business? Has it opened up the market, especially being a woman owned, successful, growing law firm? Do you think that you have somewhat of the competitive edge in the new emerging demographics in the market?
What an interesting question. I can speak to my experience with it. I think that because I have a little bit more of a unique background, maybe, than some other lawyers, especially having immigrated to the United States when I was a small child, only 5 years old. I think I bring a unique background and unique perspective in some ways. And I've noticed in my practice that maybe the sort of clients that come my way sometimes are those with their own unique backgrounds as well. And so I've really enjoyed the opportunity to just help a very varied and diverse group of people. And to, address some of the things you brought up in your question, yes, I have been seeing that certain clients who are women, they may be individuals, they may be women who own businesses. And a lot of times I'm seeing, including fields like estate planning and business law, that sometimes they're the ones who are driving the growth or driving the protection of the business, driving the protection of their estate planning as they move into retirement. So I've really enjoyed just that aspect of it. And then even with certain individuals that I've hired as well, or that I've looked into hiring, I see that there's a lot of women or minorities as well who they have an interest in the law and an interest in growing in this field. And if I can be any kind of support for that, then I'm happy to do so.
I mean, I can even say you're right. In many of the instances that we've seen recently, and I guess it's been for a while, you bring up two factors. There's, being an immigrant, coming from certain cultures that generally support different ideologies. But then at the same time, just even recently, like my wife is one of the most protective. I mean, she's looking at the law. She's making sure our estate planning is fine. She wants to be really the person taking charge to preserve and, secure our future. And I see it so much recently now that traditionally, you know, the gap in, disparity between minorities, women, things of that nature feel like the playing field has leveled so much now, which allows so much more opportunity for everybody. And it's just allowing like the wheels of the economy to move much faster, more seamlessly, where people are getting along. Now, in that aspect, so you're growing your firm, you've hired new people. Where would you say that you want to see your firm in the next 5 years if everything went perfect and your vision came to fruition?
Yeah, excellent question. I think in 5 years, I would love to see the firm continue growing. I would like to bring on more people, maybe potentially just thinking out loud here, maybe hire another attorney as well, if not a few more. And really, we owe everything we have to our clients. So I just want to continue to provide the best service that we can. I want to make sure that we continue to reassure them and make sure we understand and deliver on their goals and objectives. And then I would just like to continue having a greater strategy and vision for the future of the firm. And then I've found that when I go into the business arena, I just really love thinking of ideas and implementing them. So I would just really like to continue doing that and seeing where that goes.
And you know what that sounds like to me? It sounds kind of like your motto, handling legal issues, with the utmost efficiency. Or I guess I can say the quote directly here. It says, to help solve legal issues as efficiently as possible, which I
Yes.
mean, that's what you embody. You seem like, you're somebody that's always looking to crack that puzzle. If there's some way to make the system better, more efficient, more optimized, and just overall produce better results. You're not going to just settle for less. You're not going to say, okay, this is good enough. They're going to be happy with it. You're going to find a way to polish it more, make it better, make it improved, and make sure it performs as best as possible. And that's the type of attorney clients need by their side. Not somebody that's going to get them a good deal, but the best deal that they can within the circumstances, and being able to push and be aggressive yet strategic at the same time. And I think that really just embodies, the way that you think, the way that you built your firm. Now, with all firms, there's always the wins and their losses. So what would you say were some challenges, and even challenges today, when it comes to growing the firm, when it comes to, technology adoptions, generating new clients, making sure, because today's industry is different than 20, 30 years ago. If you networked by the courthouse and you knew all the local lawyers, you were golden. The referral systems were so vast and robust that you could just literally have a successful practice based on that, based on location. And now you have Google Ads, you have SEO, AEO, ChatGPT. There's so many different platforms to compete with and make sure that you're staying relevant. How has your firm been able to, stand up, beat that bell curve and just always come up out in front?
Sure, yes. So this is definitely an area for me that's growing and evolving. And I like to always continue to learn about new softwares, research them, including things like artificial intelligence as well, and then just figure out how that can best work with what we're doing at my firm. So, to answer your question, I really have found it helpful to implement certain softwares for client communication and
Mhm.
preserving client files. I also work with a business coach who routinely provides counsel and feedback and is a good sounding board for me and my thoughts as well. But I think with some of those, having those softwares in place, I'm seeing how artificial intelligence can help support some of the work that we do, and then also leveraging the power of social media as well, I think can be very important, as you know, as well.
Of
And
course.
in fact, I suspect that maybe how your team found me. So I think it's good to know that it's working in some capacity.
Oh, yes. And, I think that's one of the advantages of being a young, bright attorney like yourself. I mean, you're entering an age where literally you can seize and capitalize whatever you want because everything's at your fingertips. You can get a client from halfway across the country within a moment. You're only, a click away. And at this point, those who are willing to also evolve. I mean, and that's the biggest thing. We're in an industry, traditionally, law firms are slow to adopt new technologies. There's an ego play in there. There's also somewhat of an arrogance plays there. But as we see the firms that are adopting technologies quicker, they're adapting to the environment. They're making sure that, you know, they're not only following, the course, they're making sure they're trendsetters in the course where, like you said, you're doing social media, you're doing networking, your firm is expanding, and you're focusing on things that now are primaries when they used to be secondaries. Digital marketing now for a firm is absolutely vital to the future of the firm. I mean, it's just, there's no way around it. I mean, unless you come with a Rolodex from, I guess, Wall Street, Goldman Sachs, and some hedge fund managers, if you don't have that, really not using digital marketing to the best of its ability is shooting yourself in the foot. And
I
I mean, go on.
I absolutely agree with you. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and the thing I think at the end of the day is, you've grown your firm And how many years has it been now?
So we are still under about 2 years.
Under 2 years. And that's probably the most exciting time. Why? You made it past the first year, so it shows that you have something worth staying around. That's the first thing. Majority of attorneys that go out on their own end up failing within the first 6 months because they can't take it. They left a firm, they left a guaranteed salary, they left all that off the table, and now they started their own venture. It takes a lot of grit, it takes confidence in yourself, it takes tenacity, and it takes a lot of hard work. And being able to break past that 365-day mark on your own is, a testament to your character, your ability to overcome challenges. Going into year two, you're probably happy and excited seeing that more clients are there. You're stabilizing while at the same time growing. You're no longer wondering, am I going to get a client? It's more like, when am I getting a client and how many am I getting? All that helps evolve your business acumen. And as you continue to grow, different priorities in the business come out. In the beginning, it's, let me make some good money so I can live a good life and sustain and continue to grow. And then when you get to a certain point, and usually they call it, it's a mindset shift. So 0 to, let's say, 300,000 a year, generally for attorneys, let's just say, is that mindset shift where, you're still working, you're still hustling, you're still going. 300 to 750, you're living a good life. You have some of the luxuries that you wanted, maybe a nice car, you got a nice house, you wear decent clothes. And when you're past that 750 to a million mark, and this is proven in psychology, there's a massive mindset shift where you go from generating income and wanting to make money to focusing on wealth and how your money can make money for you, where you're looking more into systems for the firm to make it grow, marketing, expanding the brand, expanding the team size so you can use others' efforts and help and build that whole system foundation. And now you grow, 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 because at a certain point, I mean, yes, people can be extremely wasteful at times, but if you're pulling in $1 million a year and you're taking home, let's just say 80,000 a month after taxes, 60,000. I mean, you could get a Rolls Royce for probably 3,000, 4,000 a month. You can get a mansion for 20. There's really not much you can spend unless you just, well, first you have to work for it. That's the first part. So you don't really have time to go spend it all day long. And then second to that, that whole mindset shift, it's actually amazing how it works. And watching you grow being in the second year is just, it's a very exciting time. I've seen so many firms that have gone and have seen exponential growth in their first 5 years, and probably more than some firms have done in a whole lifetime. So, kudos to you. So without names, we were talking about a case earlier today where you helped, represent a client, you won. And let's talk about the strategy behind it. And I don't want to take away your story. So please tell us, kind of how it broke down while still making sure that we're respecting confidentiality and all.
Absolutely. I'll be happy to talk about that. So, one of the core values I have at my firm is to be efficient. And so I truly do want to look at what the quickest way to solve the problem is, along with, also what the best approach and strategy is. Because I truly believe that if we do good work and we do it efficiently, I think clients will come back for their future needs, hopefully. And so keeping that in mind, the example we were talking about focused on seeing if we could get a problem resolved during the pre-suit phase prior to having to file a litigation suit. So basically, generally speaking, the issue involved a dispute with one of the world's largest internet domain companies.
Wow.
And it was a client who wanted to preserve her brand, and she had big plans for her brand that involved keeping her website and keeping her
Mhm.
social media handles. And all of a sudden, it was at risk. That particular name for the brand was at risk of going. And in fact, it had been taken away. And so we reached out, and we went through all our pre-suit communications, both verbally and in a written fashion. And then, of course, we get ignored sometimes, but I think it's really important to be consistent and to follow up when there's no response. And so we did that, and we did it for few months. And that being said, we were always prepared to file suit if we needed to. But because we do care about preserving the client's resources and doing what's in their best interest, we were able to get that issue resolved during the pre-suit phase. The
Right.
client was able to get her domain credentials back, and then now she's continuing to be able to use them, and she's working with some of the biggest organizations in the country providing her services. And of course that's all her hard work, but I'm happy to be like, like a very small percentage of that. So, and
Awesome.
I think that we still continue working together sometimes, and I'm happy that I can be a continuous resource in the future moving forward as well.
And that speaks so much to who you are and how you operate as an attorney. Because, first off, being able to find the most efficient outcome, because litigation costs money. Let's just be, it costs money. Going through these court proceedings costs money. If we can resolve a situation without having to go to court, without having to go back and forth and spend countless hours and thousands of dollars, where at times, unless it's a contingency, the attorney does make out best, but that's where those legal ethics come into play. And I think that's also why, an individual that is representing and has their services with some of the largest companies in the country has chosen you because they recognize that quality in you, that honest, the integrity, that she's willing to go above and beyond and make sure the job gets done. And that also goes to why they're continuing to work with you, because realistically, clients only continue to work with a service provider, attorney, accountant, doctor, if the results are good, right? Really great, because at that point, they don't have to go anywhere else. If they can see where they can get something better by changing, they will. So it kind of shows like there's not much better than you. That's why they have picked you, which is amazing in that aspect. And waiting to do it more efficiently is, I think in this day and age with the systems out there, we have a lot of dated legal systems that efficiency is very, very hard to find. I mean, if you look at some court systems where just filing a suit can take months because they're backed up, they don't have the staff, they may only take, I was talking to a client earlier where he's going into a litigation in a county in one of these southern states, very rural, low population, and they only take hearings once a month. So literally you have to file, you wait a month and you have another hearing, then they do certain hearings only 3 times a quarter. So, I mean, obviously there's no efficiency there. It's pretty much a hurry up and wait game. But, looking at, building those systems that you've done, for many attorneys, growth means more revenues. But for you, it seems that growth means better client outcomes and reputation. How do you personally define success for your practice?
Sure, absolutely. For me, success is about doing the best that I can, doing the best to provide good services, good outcomes for clients, and to just build a good livelihood for the practice as well, so that we can continue to do what we do and continue to expand our services. I also think that trust is really important with
Yes, it
clients.
is.
And so I want to make sure that they trust us. And I also think about how I would feel if I was on the other side of it as a client. And so I do take those principles in mind and think about them when I think about the golden rule. We want to treat others how we want to be treated. And
Yeah,
so I just want to make sure that, we're building a community. We're continuing to help those in the community, family and friends. And really, yeah, I think as long as I get to also advocate, I love doing that. I love attending mediations. I love alternate dispute resolution. I think there's a lot of settlements and solutions that can be reached through negotiations and mediations and other things of that sort. And so, yeah, I just think that that's my purpose, is kind of just to continue growing in this field. And as long as I can do that and have the opportunity to do so, I think that's enough for me as far as success goes.
of course. You brought up negotiations. So I have to ask you this. mediations, alternative, dispute resolutions. Where would you say, explain to us your theory on the art of negotiation and how you feel it should be kind of handled and operated?
Sure. So I certainly wouldn't consider myself an expert. However, this is an area that I did begin working in actually when I was in law school. So I can certainly share my experiences with you. So I was on our school's negotiations team in law school, and I just really had a passion for it. And I think that some of the most crucial things from then to now is basically we want to make sure that we are attacking a position. We're attacking the problem, that we're not attacking the other side. And so I think that focusing on the problem at hand, trying to find compromise, a common ground, maybe build some goodwill where possible, and really just trying to see what the other side really cares about. What is their motivation? Is it purely monetary? Is it purely financial? Or is it more about some other non monetary action they're seeking from the other side? And so I think with each situation with negotiation, we really have to look at it in the context of the totality of the circumstances and in the context of that particular situation. So I think if we really look at what our goals are, as well as what the other side's goals are, I think that's assessing that is a good first step in seeing if any kind of solution or compromise can be reached. And I feel that mentality is similarly applicable to mediation as well. I really enjoy going to mediation. I enjoy the problem solving aspect, the opportunity to think creatively, to deal with challenges and see how we can maybe try to overcome them. I also think there's a unpredictable element to it as well. It's sort of like each situation is its own story, and I just really enjoy seeing that process.
And that sounds like somebody that was on the negotiation team at law school. You broke it down very well. Wow. Awesome. So, we're getting close towards the end. You've built a great firm for yourself. The future for your firm, obviously, all we see is success and growth in the future. You're on a great trajectory. The momentum is high. You're building a strong community around your firm. What advice would you give to a younger or mid-career attorney who wants to build a client-first boutique law firm like yourself and still be competitive in a major city like Dallas?
That is a really good question. So, with my trajectory and my story, I found it really helpful to first learn from other attorneys who are older than you. So, I found it really helpful to gain experience as an employee in other firms and corporations. And I found it helpful to gain a diversity of experiences as well. So I think developing some comfort with different practice areas, seeing what you like, working with different people, and then getting some experience dealing with all of the different aspects and stages of a case. So I think if, you're able to do that, I think that gives you some baseline confidence and capacity to work independently. Because I still rely on others now, but I definitely work more independently than I used to. And I think someone definitely has to be comfortable doing that. I think that's the advice I would give for the professional legal side. I think on the business side, it's also important to nurture relationships with those you want to continue working with. I think networking is always important. And I think that I really enjoy getting involved with causes and local communities, including my local bar association, and meeting like minded people. And it's also just really neat when you're getting involved with something just because you want to. And then, you may also find a good business relationship there as well. And so just to sum up, I think it's a twofold situation where I think younger attorneys can work on building their professional legal skills as well as their business and networking skills as well.
You brought something up around networking, which really strikes a tune. So recently, I've been working with a few advisory boards in the state of Maryland. One of them was the governor's advisory board, and there was a project per se, and it had to do with victims against sex trafficking and things of that nature. And so I went and helped out with the company, and we basically did a lot of I guess charity work for them, and it's something that I'm passionate about, victims' rights, things of that nature. And it really just grew into, and I never even thought about this. It was literally just, to kind of, produce and help back the community. And we ended up getting a pretty large client that works with the UN on doing outreach and basically bring awareness to certain situations going across the world and hot zones. And it's just been so fulfilling. And you're right. I would tell anybody that's, looking to start a business, grow their business, you have to be around business owners. You have to be with people that are doing and running their own businesses, are, performing the art of business. And if you're the smartest person in the room, you need to get out of the room. It's simply put, put yourself around people. And I wouldn't say that are better than you, but that push yourself to be better, right?
Absolutely.
And we find a lot of people nowadays that they like to associate themselves with, I want to, obviously everybody wants to be with the winners, but really, if you look at who you spend your time with, people can sum you up. And I think being in business, because I know a lot of people that struggle to get clients and they think it's strictly, yes, digital marketing can be phenomenal. You can be a recluse and introvert and sit in your basement and still generate clients. But at a certain point, that metrics plateau, and there's a certain point where you have to get out, you have to network, you have to expand, especially if you're the face of the business or the leader. If your business is always behind closed doors and no one really sees it, it's very hard to expand, especially locally where you're going to get your highest conversions, because there's that familiarity, that common ground is already one barrier that you don't have to break. So definitely, I mean, you got, a great head on your shoulders. You got vision, you know what you're doing. We've already talked about the next 5 years for the firm. So thank you for sharing your journey, your passion, your vision, your wanting for efficiency. But before we wrap it up, what's one simple yet powerful takeaway you'd like listeners to remember about you, your firm, the way you practice, and obviously, most importantly, how can they get in touch with you if they're dealing with any of the service areas that you guys excel at? Family law, estate law, business law. I mean, I think you also do business and civil litigation. How can they really reach out to you and tell them, what do they need to know?
Sure, absolutely. So, yes, we are a generalist practice and we are more than happy to help any potential new client. We can always set up a consultation, and we really value honesty and transparent communication in our services as well. So, I just want potential new clients to be aware of that. And we'll do our best to help you. The best way to get in contact with us would be through our firm's website and also through the emails as well. So our administrative email is info@pvlawoffice.com. And, they can also feel free to reach out to me directly through my email, Pooja@pvlawoffice as well. We are also present on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And yeah, I mean, there's really a variety of ways they can get into contact with us.
Awesome. Guys, so you heard that. That was Pooja Vasudev of PV Law. If you didn't catch her information, don't worry. It's in the description. All her links, all her contact information. And remember, guys, if you liked today's story, please comment, please subscribe. And if you're in need of excellent legal services, if you're looking for an attorney that's really going to have your best interests at heart and is going to make sure the job gets done to the T, PV Law is there for you. If you're in Texas, in the Dallas area, Pooja will walk you through anything you need. If you don't understand it, she'll guide you through it. Really, she's an asset to have. She's a phone number that you need to keep. And if you're in any situation, if I was in this situation, I'd be happy that I have her phone number to call. Until next time, if you're growing your firm, whether it's a law firm, a medical practice, or your business, make sure that while seeking scalability, you understand the process of sustainability. A lot of times we see firms excel, generate a high influx of volumized customers, and the quality of the firm starts begin to wane. And we see the firm start losing numbers and going back down. And this is common in most businesses because not having a structured system in place for your success and growth is just as bad as not having a plan to get to that success and growth, because you're going to expand. And if you're not focusing on building foundations to support the new growth, you're going to find yourself in a bubble that will burst and will put you back to square one. What we focus on is revenue acceleration, helping businesses exponentially increase their revenue assets so that their P&L reports become stronger, their client acquisition systems are at the height of their performance, and most importantly, that your business is profitable. Until next time, guys, if you're looking for something, reach out to growthxmarketing.ai. It was great to have you today, Pooja. It was an honor speaking to you. Guys, thank you for having Pooja on the show today. Until next time, stay smart. Thank you.
Thank you. And Tarun, I also just want to thank you for having me on the show and for having your team reach out. And I wish GrowthX continued success and prosperity.
Thank you so much, Pooja. Bye, guys.
Own your growth. Scale with systems powered by GrowthX. Subscribe to Success in Excess for those who lead with precision and scale with purpose.